Hey everybody, welcome to another Practical Pet Chat. Lauren, I'm a grouper, meaning I belong to a lot of groups, and there are some that I sometimes maybe give a little bit too much credence to as I'm looking for new ideas, new solutions.
That would be my group, of course, right?
Well, no, yours is different, but I am glad to be a part of your group. Um, I think the reason that I bring it up is there are so many groups out there, and I belong to a lot of them. It is wild, and there are many positives, but I notice there are a lot more now that maybe aren't serving the group in the way that they used to. And I just think that that's something I just wanted to call out and talk to you about because you've been running a group for a long time, but you've really kept it focused. And I think that's something that people miss when those shifts happen. So, how have you done that? And are you experiencing that at all yourself?
I'm an admin in 7 groups.
Wow.
Um, and it's interesting because I'm also in probably 300 groups for various and assorted reasons because I want to know what's being said in groups to people who are feeding or, different types, medical groups, veterinary groups, veterinarian groups,
Trade group.
trade
Yeah.
groups, retailer groups, things like that. And they all have their supposed focus. And I use the word supposed because it's interesting whether or not admin allows things to derail, which can happen easily. But I'm in groups that I flat won't participate in because they bite your head off. They don't know you. They
Yes.
don't know what you might know. Um, I don't I don't feel the need to be, reaching out there and telling people what they need to do as just one of the many voices. Because again, people don't know you. They don't know what you know. They don't know if you know anything. They don't know who you are, what your background is, anything like that. And it's always confounding to me. One of my groups I've had for, gosh, when groups were first starting on social media. And real quickly it really devolved in the first probably month or two. And I could see how I could lose control over it. So I had to rework the group and remove people and then set firm guidelines and monitor it closely because humans love to run amok, and nowhere is safer than online because no one knows you, no one sees you. They don't know your background. It's whether or not you come across sounding authoritative, whether or not you sound like you know what you're talking about. But then you run into the problem with the people who do that, that other people feel challenged by that. And then it devolves again into sometimes name calling or hot and heated disagreements, or, you and I've seen it all.
Yeah.
There was a while there in the feeding groups that it just was nasty in so many of the different groups. And I was like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
I stayed in it. I didn't want to be part of it. And I actually don't think I really read them much during that time because I just didn't want to be part of the devolution of it, um, even from an observing point of view. So I think it's important for people to really, even in a group you think you trust, you don't know who you're getting the information from. And let's really paint this picture. It is their limited experience with their particular set of circumstances or their particular pet or their area or their locale or their time of year, whatever it is. It's so easy to really dial that down, dial that down, dial that down. And then when you step back and look at it and go, does that really apply to me? Would that be something I can use? But you don't do that on a group, right? Nowhere isn't more obvious to me than on retailer groups because it's painful to watch a retailer in a retailer group say, who carries this brand? And does it sell well for you? Oh yeah, we love it. Oh, we do great with it. Blah, blah. And it's like, oh gosh, you don't know where they're at. You don't know how far they're in it. You don't know how long they've been selling it. You don't know their customer base or their demographic. You don't know anything other than what they tell you. You don't know what the truth is. So could you be copying failure? Absolutely. If you want to send me your bottom line and your stats on that particular product that I'm asking about privately so that I can see how you're doing in it, then that would lend some credence to it, right? But nobody's going to do that. It's a group and
Yeah.
nobody is required to do those kinds of things. So it falls upon you to make the decision, which guess what? It falls upon you to make the decision anyway. So getting all that extra advice, it's so interesting to me to watch 50 different people offer 50 different pieces of advice. And I want to always type in there, so, OP, what are you going to do? Because this is convoluted as heck. And what it does is it confuses people. And they go, oh, I don't know what to do. And then they look for another group to ask the same questions. And a lot of times it's coming down to somebody saying what they want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just overall, it goes across all groups. It's funny. Like you, I've seen a few things. I go back to the Yahoo groups day.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. My favorite group, um, we all started off as, 25, 30 of us in a Yahoo group, and we're still all in it to this day. Those of us who are still walking the earth.
There's still Yahoo?
No,
Kidding.
but we transitioned to something else.
Oh, gotcha.
But you're right. It is changed the information. The tone is greatly different. The tone is just, and I love what you said. Like you just hit a point where it's like, okay, I'm not even engaging. I might on the side DM someone if I know them, but if I don't, I'm just going. I'm not gonna get into
Right.
discussions and battles over things that it's just not worth my time and effort. You have so much time each day. Um, and honestly, and this, I actually left all of the, social media and everything else for a period of time because I just got so tired of hearing the negativity and the blasting of people for trying to do better. But instead of helping them do better, it was just seemed like everybody was just so negative. And what really kills me in the pet world is if you're going to be condescending, condemning, and all the rest of that, what's the alternative that you're offering? Because quite often the alternative is, and I see people say this, you shouldn't have the pet if you're not going to go all this
I
way.
know.
And I'm just like, you know what? Ugh, I want to leave this group. Um, but I do find some value just because of things you and I do. So, I certainly don't at that point. And, it's interesting too, because we talk about this. And if you're a moderator out there of any of these groups and you see that kind of stuff, if you don't get a handle on it, your group is nothing more than I'll just say
Choose the word carefully.
yeah, boy, I'm struggling on the word.
I can read your mind.
Where's Chat GPT for please replace this word? But that being said, I think everybody knows where I was going. Session. And
Yes,
at that point, you've lost the value of why you created it. I say this about politics and all this other stuff. Sure, there are always some bad actors, but I do believe overall many people are moved by a passion to make something better. And then what happens is they get soaked into the swamp of whatever, bad things are going on, and they just inevitably get pulled into that. The groups that I trust, the people that I trust, and I really trust groups. I more so am trusting people and not based on one comment. A series of things that I've seen over time is
sure.
always much more important to me. But I do think it's funny, and when you said how many groups, I thought I belonged to a lot of groups, but maybe we should start another group for you and I, a group for
Group
groupaholics.
Joiners Anonymous.
Yeah, yeah, a groupaholics.
Yeah. You
And
know what I think a lot of them do is they chase numbers. They're chasing how many people, they can get to sign up for the group,
the
which I
best
have
groups I belong to
never,
are smaller. Yep,
yeah, I really keep my main group
yeah,
small, and I turn down more people than I accept into it just because they either start off by not answering the questions or, you look at their profile and it's like, ugh, yikes. Because they're already blasting people online on their own page. And it just, you're going to have to remove them anyway somewhere down the line. So if somebody really wants help, then I would never turn them away. But I don't care about whether I have 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 25,000 people in my group. It doesn't, it doesn't, what is that? It means nothing. In most groups, the vast majority of people aren't engaging anyway. And they
right.
don't engage because they're there to read. They want the option of being able to go and research the group, or they've had their head bitten off so many times by asking questions elsewhere that they now shy away from asking anything because they just don't want to deal with the drama, which is
Or
unfortunate.
yeah, or the one that really is heartbreaking, which is what the groups should be serving, is they've had something come up that is tragic, emergency, health related, and instead of just trusting, Dr. Google, they're trying to go within the platforms that they know and find solutions that have worked for other folks, only to be put through another ringer of 50 people had it work and 50 people didn't. So now what do I do? And you're
Right.
grasping at straws, and it's really one of those situations. I know I've been there myself. While we were doing this, I did start a brand new group, but
No,
I'm only allowing myself. So
perfect.
yes, I will be a group of one. Now, Bella, you can be in it. That's true. Bella just let out if y'all heard that little
Oh
moan.
my gosh, wouldn't that be great if we could have a group with just dogs and cats in it?
It would be amazing.
It would be.
That wouldn't that be fun? Okay,
Oh,
let's start that one. Uh,
okay.
I think one of the fun questions, folks out there, for all of you, how do you decide what groups you stay in, what groups you participate in? Send us an email, practicalpetchat@gmail.com. As always, thank you for spending some time with Lorin and I. We know you've got a lot on your plate. Please share us with someone who maybe needs to hear this message this week. Thanks again for joining us here on Practical Pet Chat.
Thanks, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2026 Practical Pet Chat. All rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.